what's up? The audio needs to be fixed. One sec. I'm sure y'all can hear me fine, but I did buy a microphone. Surprised to use it. One sec. Okay. And then I just gotta rotate this. Push it down, don't break nothing, clockwise, lockwise. Okay, let's add the audio input. Okay. There we go. Ho, ho, ho. Alright, bless. I can't really move it closer unless nah, it's plugged in, so I shouldn't fuck with the, I'm not sure if spigot is the term. Let's find out. Excuse me. Doesn't appear to be spigot. I'm thinking of that tool that, you like screw in to secure a thing on both sides, like a clamp. Anyway, the last time I tried to announce this project, I had the video capture, the webcam. I had it covering the whole fucking screen. So I'm like going, yeah, look at this. Anyway, we're here now. I'm gonna just do this at my own pace. I got royalty-free music going on. It's Funk by Boomer. I might have to change a few songs on this playlist, but for the most part, I've been liking all of it, I'd say. Let's see, yeah, let's close tabs to the right. You not seeing it? There you go. Okay. And then this Tumblr post, what is this? Oh, that's me. Okay, so this is my blog. So let's start off with that. Unfortunately, Tumblr does make you sign in. Sorry about that, y'all. Look, it's literally making me sign into my own fucking blog right now. Whoa, and it's not gonna let me stay. Okay, I don't know my login info right now. That sucks. I dug too deep, allegedly. Alright. I guess I'll open an incognito window, are you kidding me? Okay, tumblr.com/wasteland soul project, and you're gonna want to go in incognito as well for this one. Oh no. Did that go somewhere bad? It really seemed like it was about to. Tumblr.com. There we go. Alright, so that's a repost I did. That is, we'll talk about that later, but the word lore anarchism is what I would put right on that post. Alright, this is just some updates talking about the PC. This is what my study guide will be. Hopefully I can scroll and get there. Just right there. The timeline of the project media. So, yeah. This is my Tumblr where if you want to see the project mapped out, you can. I don't know how often I'll update it, but if y'all are interested, I absolutely could. Let's go here. And is there any way besides this? I guess I can just do it like this. So here we go. Ba-da! Wasteland Soul Project. I would love to play Fallout Shelter Online. I'll see if there's any way to get it. I love the designs of these characters, frankly, though. The backgrounds are interesting. They're really interesting. I like them. Okay. Let's get something out of the way. Let me check my email. But as last I saw, oh, my kitty needs something. Give me 1 second. Here, I'll turn this on for a second. This is a YouTube video by Callback. Need anything, Munchie? Need outside. Okay, you don't need no getting outside. Okay, so this is a song I assume it was made around the time the game came out. Someone made a cool freaking music video with the Fallout Equestria stuff. I'm absolutely interested in checking out Fallout Equestria. Look at this fucking pony. It looks cool as hell. It looks cool as hell. Yeah, I would just say it's not part of this project. I don't consider Equestria to be canon to Fallout. But I am completely fine with Fallout Equestria being like the end of Gen 4 in the My Little Pony timeline. If I ever cover that, I think that's cool. The idea that like eventually Equestria ends in a fucking apocalypse right before Gen 5. That sounds cool. That sounds fine. Yeah. Anyway, so Wasteland Soul was a song created by Gavin Dunn from the channel Miracle of Sound for Fallout 3. He's number 1. Let's see, so there's a site called Pretzel Rocks where he gives people permission to play his songs on stream, but Pretzel Rocks is a subscription that apparently supports creators best for their stream-friendly music. So I'm kind of thinking that sounds good. As it says there, waiting on an email to see if he has his blessing for the name. Song names aren't copyrighted as far as I understand, but at the same time, I'm trying to be polite. There's a lot of baggage with this project, so you know. And I have not gotten a reply yet, but that's okay. Alright. So, yeah, and let's see. I just wanted to say, like, the energy of that first album in particular is like, ooh, like my favorite Miracle of Sound song right now is probably I Am Pudge. Because it sounds like an orcish war anthem, but like those early songs were just like, they had this pure camp energy. Gordon Freeman saved my life. What? And it was just like 2008 gamer, and so I made this next slide. It should transition. There we go. Where I was like, this is what 2008 gamer aesthetic was, right? Because Fallout 3 came around just that same time, and Fallout 3 was my first one, even if I didn't play it in that year. So what's up? I wrote out a little flavor text for this. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it's the 2008 gamer energy where it's like, what do they call it? The dadification, where it's like you want to be a good freaking dad in the main quest, and you want these like freaking girl twinks with like giant boobs and like disproportionately small butts. You want to be like staring up at them through your little like headphones plugged into the TV at 2 a.m. And what's up? Oh my god, you go upstairs and you're like looking all sad. You're like, you're trying to get mom's attention. Mom, something happened today. Dominic Santiago from Gears of War, man. This is the hardest part of the job, but Private Anthony Carmine. And it's like, you have this reverence for like fictional soldiers that it would even be weird to have that reverence for like US soldiers. weird is a strange way of phrasing it, but the sanctity, right? Where you sometimes see in like dynastic military families. And yeah, just that energy of being like, I lost a good soldier. I would have the freaking Commander Shepard like memorial wall, and I think about it. Like, those men I lost. And it's like, especially with like American soldiers dying, like absolutely, they're like not even their citizens, they're people. They're people who are just working class people, but it's like the soldier died, the American soldier died. Like that's the imperialist, bro. Like, if there's one thing that you're gonna fucking cling to the cog tag about, like, what about the shit actually going on? Where, like, just civilians are dying as well. The shit actually going on is rude to say. I should phrase it differently. Oh, and then inevitably, though I didn't know it at the time, this inevitably comes to you going up the stairs and saying, Mom, I want to join the military. And then I say that at the house party, and my mom's family like nods solemnly, like I'm joining the fucking Night's Watch, bro. All right. So what is the project in 1D4 words? That's the next segment. Wait. Okay. Hello. You want something, Munchie? How you doing, bro? Okay, in 1D4 words. 2 words. Cool Fallout. 1D10 words. Fallout. How I'd like it told. Dinos and magic. 1D20. 9? Okay. Getting cultured. Whilst headcanoning like mad. Playing hella games. That's okay. I do think the first draft had the better dice roll explanations, and I might check out the VOD on that one. Alright. So the way that I'd explain it now with no limitation is that I am trying to set up a playthrough of New Vegas that would be absolutely perfect. And way back when, I thought, okay, well, let's call this project West Coast Classics. Let's play Fallout 1, 2, New Vegas, maybe some tactics. We can sprinkle in a little bit of that spin-off. Maybe some of those mods set on the West Coast. Okay. Purest lore, right? Pure lore. Well, then I kept expanding it. I kept wanting to add new things that I thought worked. Like Mad Max literally fucking works in Fallout. They can just be the same series. Wasteland works in Fallout. I kept adding things. And I kept stretching the definition of what's a West Coast classic. Because I really wanted to include a little bit of that East Coast Fallout. It's not all bad. Especially the gameplay. The gameplay's fucking fun. So... the project has been rebuilt as a big-ass prologue for New Vegas. Every game, every book, everything that I viewed before this, I'm going to try and do my best to be critical and analyze it all, but it's all to set up the plot of New Vegas. I'm going to read Canticle for Leibowitz, alright? I'm going to read, like, the Iliad. I'm going to read books I genuinely do not know the names of the authors of yet, because I'm trying to diversify myself from the mental fish tank that I'm in. Good doggy. You want outside, don't you? I don't think you've gone out yet. Go on. Yeah, all yours, baby. He's so cute. Yeah. And another way of phrasing it is if I ever ran a tabletop game that was set in Fallout, this is how I'd interpret the universe. The universe is already having fun, like getting weird in this direction, and this direction, and this direction. I'm just trying to tape it all together and kind of push it along, you know? Okay, let us move on to the next slide. So this is just citing inspos, so yeah, Miracle of Sound. Definitely check out the Pretzel Rocks if you are a streamer. But absolutely, I think you can buy the albums as well. He does mostly just original music, self-composed, self-written, all that shit. Yeah. Not to just call out one specific Tumblr, but calder.tumblr.com. I believe her name is Pond. She has just been doing hella lore anarchism stuff. What is lore anarchism? It is the idea that, like, okay, what's canon in Fallout? Like, let's get real. Okay. Bro, ain't nobody in Fallout 1 done mentioned West Virginia, done mentioned the Assaultron, done mentioned the super mutants already existing as a threat. And that just doesn't matter. Because things don't have to be canon in, like, an objective, material, this exists way. Because when you try and do that, you are beholden to private property, you are beholden to the Smiling Friends dunking sauce guy who just sits on IPs. Why? Alright? I once read a fanfic where Raoul the Ghoul fingered the courier's pussy, and it came out, his scabby fingers came out, they were covered in her, like, blood. And, you know what? Why is that, like, a lower art than what Emil Pagliano puts out? Yeah. So, I'm not, like, affiliated with Calder. I would be totally down to hop on, like, podcasts or anything. I'm just a fan who is working on a similar project, similar mindset, and I would hope that other Tumblrs, specifically like the one I reblogged, or others in Calder's sort of circle, I would just hope to start checking those out, maybe socializing more. Yeah. Just trying to get more finger on the pulse of, like, the cool kids of the Fallout community, because I do feel that there's a lot of releases that are taking the politics of the series like for granted, and it's the IP is just in like a weird direction right now where a bunch of people know about it, but like, what's the thing to know that it's a fun sci-fi where you shoot things and it's about like silly America? I don't know how to phrase it. It's like dumb Starbucks. Anyway, Tim Kaine on Games. I should have added his YouTube channel, but come on, he's a great dude. Tim Kaine is freaking Mr. Fallout, if y'all don't know. There was a time when he was the only person working on the series. Love his YouTube channel. He is absolutely so fun to watch. Just love his personality and everything. Yeah. I don't know if I would say that I'm actually in support of Ghosts in Fallout. That might be like poisoning the well right at the start of all this. But I will say right now, the fact that they like exist in so many multiple iterations now, I'm just adjusting the Fallout series to like accommodate it. You know what I mean? And if it has gone back to like since the second game, bruh, like that's the same time that like Vault Experiments got canonized. Okay, like it's part of the series now. It's part of it. All right. Shout out to activists. Let's see. Yeah. So West Coast, what? Unity, Enclave, Legion. They're all supposed to be some sort of like fascistic authoritarian sect, and something. What? Like the first two games, it's a theme of purity and mutation. I'm not too sure how you'd want to phrase the Legion. But yeah, I'd say that's not reading into the text in any way that is not intended by the creators, as though that were like a negative moral value. Yeah, pretty explicitly anti-fascist, but I would just say that, especially right now, America is doing a lot of imperialism. It is important to be aware of what is going wrong in this world. I will call out a few countries. What? Ethiopia, I know is having problems. Congo, Sudan, and Palestine. USA, absolutely. A million freaking countries, man. I don't know how many countries exist in this world. I hope to learn. Yeah, I'm definitely of the mind, though I haven't always been. So, give everyone some grace for taking time to radicalize in their own ways. But like, I do think that just keeping constant like media attention of things, it's better than not, I guess. All right. The OER project, the Open Education Resources Project. Yeah, it says a bunch of like Bill Gates money behind it. This is a website where you can learn about world history. High budget, completely free education, but it's world history with like a mashup of like the sciences with it to explain it all in context. Yeah, we'll get there. But that next slide is utilizing their project timeline, which attempts to tell history from the context of the Big Bang onwards. And I would say that that is very useful for comprehending where things relate to each other. Like, I think the earliest a history class has done for me was the Bronze Age, because everything else would be prehistoric, right? And I just don't feel that, like, to sum it up, I think OER project is doing a great thing where you can opt into learning history in a big, wide context. And I think schools forcibly make you learn small contexts of history, and it's like everyone sitting around me in public school didn't give a shit because the curriculum is not conducive to their enrichment. Yeah, period out, period out. So next up is my I would also say next up is public libraries. Yeah, absolutely. I have hella cosmology books for the next segment of the project that I got from the public library. So yeah, they're just awesome. Great third space community centers as well. I haven't like hung out, but they got bulletin boards of just hella things. Alright, next I would say my cousins. I would like to thank them. The first time I ever saw Fallout, it was Fallout 3, and one of my cousins, would have been the eldest, or the elder, was playing it. Excuse me. And here I have something pulled up for it. Oh, okay. So here's Calder's Tumblr. I like how it's all set up. It's just got a cool format. But then like that's the infinite scroll, so you can see what's going on right now. Alright, so it was something like this. It was just a visual like this when my cousin was playing. And it just took me the fuck away. I was like... And the aesthetic I was chasing was Metro, but it was like... the idea of just this huge city, gas masks, just trying to survive out here, these gray skies, gray buildings, and like the radiation aspect. I didn't understand the phrase "rad-X, rad-away," so I seriously thought it was rat poison that like had anti-radiation properties. And yeah, this is the project. Let me just close out of that. Okay. And I remember my cousin telling me, oh yeah, if I get enough rats, I'll turn into like a ghoul, or I'll turn into a mutant. And I was like, okay, do it. And then he was like, it'd take too long. I wonder if he like actually believed it. Anyway, I know y'all are hyped for the next slide. So, next I would, even I am. Next I would like to thank my brother, Jordan. He is super cool. We always talk about Fallout. He's been a great supporter, listening to me be hype about this project. Yeah, dude's just awesome. Just want to shout him out. I'd love to know if this is like brightening up his day, checking this out. Alright. So, how's the timeline gonna look? So yeah, we got 9 thresholds. So there's 8 is the modern revolution, and then we're gonna go on to 2077, and then that's when things are gonna get real weird. So that's the 9. But then as well, like OER project has an intro that I'm currently on. That's where we'll be beginning. And then an outro that's the future, which I do think is valuable for the speculative elements that will be occurring. Okay. Okay, so yeah, this is my fandom timeline, snatching a bunch from OER project, and let me compare this to the official timeline. Alright, so here you go. Look, they're even promoting the show. Woo! Colonize the world! Okay, and where is the first thing? 11,000 before present. And yeah, we are. It's like, I'm gonna assume this is BC, like that's what we're going for. But I've also heard that this could be 1950, so I'm not too sure. But this is the first thing on the timeline, because you'll see there's two sisters right here, Fallout Tactics and Van Buren. They are quite rudely shafted over into non-canon timelines, and they are 1918 and 1895, respectively. So those ones have more to do with the U.S. government's history, Fallout Corps, right? And then this one is going back to 11,000 BCE, we'll say, and it is trying to tell us, yeah, Jack Cabot was just freaking talking about, we got it from this buried city that existed 4,000 years before 7,000 BCE. So someone on the wiki said, yeah, 7,000 is the year I've chosen for the first human civilization. I don't know how objectively true that is. And then they're just saying, okay, before human civilization, there was some sort of alien city in, I'm going to just say the Middle East if it's not going to clarify past Ruba Khali, Arabian Peninsula. Okay. So yeah, they're trying to say near enough to the Fertile Crescent, you are getting like a precursor civilization, and that's the deep, weird lore of Fallout, and that's East Coast. We can thank East Coast for this. I am to understand as well that some of the RPG books have been elaborating on weird alien cities as well, and maybe this timeline is now out of date, and we can even add even more things. So, what we end up with is this idea of a primordial era, right? Then where the weird things can have happened, but it's all ancient history. And then anything else is just sort of talk, right? The Magna Carta. I know you can find a copy of it, but the Magna Carta, this samurai getting abducted, the Battle of Hastings, I believe that's an Anglo-Saxon war. These are just mentions. That's just said in a classroom. These aren't these are more real history, citing just points in real history, rather than the timeline, besides this guy getting, invaded, abducted by an alien, but even then, that's the alien going to the time. So, what I am trying to show is that Fallout is really only concerned with not even America, the region, it's America, the government. They start at the Revolutionary War, right? It's much more, John Smith, right? We got just the colonial history of the Americas, and when you mix that with how, the, I don't know how to phrase it. It's when you mix it with the politics of honest hearts and shit, where you're infantilizing the native, like, caricatures who are supposed to be half native because they can't commit. When you're, like, infantilizing them, making them Edenic and shit, and then, like, having Redditors keep reposting that they're, like, general gobbledygook and shit, and, like, what? I've only heard this from the Noah Caldwell Drouet videos, but, when that apparently, like, they just do, like, stereotypical, like, caricature voices in the spin-off games, like Tactics or Brotherhood of Steel, I'm not sure which one. And I thought, like, the batteries were real bats, because they were silly tribals. It's like, I'm trying to understand what tribal means in the context of Fallout 2. Because Fallout is interested in tribes. Fallout 3 brought it back, too, with a Crow. They want to keep it. They want to keep tribes. But, like, what is a tribe to Fallout? Because it's been a little bit since I took anthropology. I don't quite know how I'd phrase it, other than you get to a certain level of, like, do tribes have totally existed in hunter-gatherers, I would assume. Okay, how to phrase it. Okay. I don't know. I don't know if it's just saying... I assume what the game is going for is that we got bombed to the Stone Age, we are now rebuilding. Our government would first organize itself as tribes, then it would organize itself as nations, and it's the idea of this, like, linear time scale. I assume that's what they're going for with it, and it is odd that Fallout 1 doesn't quite take on a tribal aesthetic. And yeah, like, the idea is the Vault descendants became more superstitious. I'm just not too sure what to make of it. I do think a big part of it is just to add to the Conan aesthetic. We are in a dark age, right? You got your freaking spear, and you need to fight the, like, monster, the Deathclaw, and you're a buff, long-haired guy, or you're like a big booby lady. I do think there's a big sword and sorcery element. That is why there's tribes. Certainly, Fallout is one of those settings where it's like people are now hunter-gatherers again. I want a cooler interpretation. I don't know how else to phrase it. I just want an interpretation that talks about, like, what tribes do for ego, and, like, how different, like, the Enclave or something might view tribalism as, like, they might use tribal as a slur, but the thing that they are doing is, like, conflict heavy in the way that we would describe things as being, like, tribalistic, where it's like they have a group and all else is outside of their protection. Yeah, I'd be interested in stuff like that. But definitely, haven't played Fallout 2 all the way through, but it is an interesting, hella interesting decision that they make your character a tribal, and then they have the fucking president, like, look at you and say you're not human. Fucking fascinating. And if we aren't, like, reading some books, putting on a big hat, it'll be over our heads. It'll be over my head if I'm not, like, reading up on that. I'm interested. I really am. Alright. Thanks for that tribal tangent. It is important for the Fallout series. I would argue tribes are one of the main themes. What I'm trying to get at, though, is the scope for the current Fallout timeline is sort of weak. Yeah, it's just all Americana from the government's perspective. So, I want to give y'all, the rest of these tabs are like a walkthrough of what will be going on. Let's turn on the music again. Hey, 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 hey. Okay. Okay. So we start in here, and I want to emphasize I'm prioritizing playing some new games. That's going to be the biggest cool thing with all this. There's not a lot of games before there's life. But I am thinking right around the time that we get to Earth being fully formed, the first game we could play would be Space Engine, because I believe all the celestial bodies should be at least, what, 5 billion years? I guess a lot could change in 5 billion. I imagine if we go on Space Engine, we'll see the continents being too modern for where we are on the timeline. But I imagine that the scope for most of the things in space might be okay. But I'll try and confirm that before I 100% go with it. I want to check out Space Engine. I just might be jumping the gun on doing it too soon. But life on Earth, as I understand, that should just be cells. That were, I couldn't tell you how they got their energy, honestly, but I understand that it wasn't predation, and then predation came later, and when that happens, that is when we want to play Agario to get into conflict beginning in this world, the struggle for life, alright? And then we're going to keep it on, and we're going to get to what we're going to want to be looking at is lists like this one. There we go. We want things like this. Fiction set in the Mesozoic area. Wikipedia has ones that go through just all of it, just all of history as far as I am seeing, and as far as they can be comprehensive, they try and list every little game. So I assume Plants vs. Zombie 2, they go in the past, there's like dinosaurs, and so they said this game takes place in the Mesozoic era. Of course, community made, a lot of it could be incorrect. Certain examples like Chrono Trigger, I understand that's a fantasy world, so they're not going to the Mesozoic era, they're going to their dinosaur era. But, you know. It's still very helpful, and I probably want to include Chrono Trigger on the timeline. But yeah, I'm going to be doing this for the different eras. So if you want to troll me, you can edit it. Alright. So, we were talking about Ubar. I don't recall if Ubar was the real city or the precursor city. Is Ubar real? A legendary land, often referred to the Atlantis of the Sands. I didn't know this. Tell me more. This is the Arabian Peninsula. Oman, Yemen, site of meteor impacts. Oh, so we don't know where it is, but I understand. Okay. So we'll now be moving further along to not just life. We'll be moving on to a precursor civilization. Oh, let me just clear this up right now, just in case anyone sees a flaw of this. So this says 13.8 billion years ago, and that should mean that I should subtract 2301, or I should actually subtract, what is it, 2024? And then I should just have like this left off in my mind that there's like that. Yeah, I'm not doing that. When we get to the billions, it's really irrelevant what the thousands look like. So I'm just not gonna give a fuck. But once we get to the thousands, that's when it's important to clarify. So what we're at 24, so we're at 124. Or 1024. So then 4,000 years back from that, we're at like 3,000. Okay, so you're saying like agriculture started at like 3,000, and then this one is like not to scale. So we are just to understand that. Let's say right here. When did collective learning come about? I'm gonna look it up on the Tumblr right now. Site's home vlog. Okay. So it's saying that this collective learning threshold should be at the 200,000 years ago mark. So what is that? 198 BCE? 198,000 BCE. So yeah, we're already in the hundreds of thousands right here. So just basically the thing to understand is that we've got dinosaurs and shit around here. And we'll be playing some dinosaur games, don't you worry. But we want to establish the idea of, like, a reptilian age. Because that's real. That's just the facts of, like... We want to have, like... So it's mythologized here. With this sort of city of non-humans. With this, with the Cthulhu mythos, when I think Ubar, when I think Atlantis of the Sands, I think of the Nameless City from the Cthulhu mythos. I think of the Elder Days from Conan, how they describe the freaking Elder race ruled the earth. Seemingly humanoid, so like a magical, we have some bipeds as well. And this is where we're getting ahistorical, but we're just kind of having fun with it. And I'm picturing, what is this specifically? Marvel data. Okay, so this is the Elder Days, yeah. And this is one of the big monsters. The idea is you just have like these reptilian creatures and shit. They're like giant, everlasting dragons from Dark Souls. Tiamat, right? And just this idea that there's like an age where mammals were quite vulnerable. And they were just scurrying along because it's Prometheus before the fire. Yeah, they're dancing to the song. So cute. Alright. But then, if this is 200,000, then somewhere right hereabouts, we want to be looking at the Cole the Conqueror, I believe is what it is, or Cole the Barbarian, I'm not too sure. This is Atlantis, Conan the Barbarian content. Oh. And then as we move on, we'll be getting to, I believe Conan, when is Conan set? I just looked it up. And say during the Hyperbore Age, and I'll say, when is that? And they'll say, bro, come on, but they give a date, so just give me a date. What year it's the Hyperborean Age? Hyperborean Age. What year Hyperborean Age? 10,000. Thank you. Okay. So, and then Far Cry Primal, what year? 10,000. Okay, cool. So now I have a good explanation. Alright. Just once you walk back in, he's looking at me weird. Alright, one sec. Brief intermission. Okay. So the through line is the idea that at 100,000, or no, at 10,000 BCE, and just before this, we already have collective learning. So how I really am interested in like expanding on collective learning, particularly for like the fantasy aspect, is psychic energy, right? Think like the paranormal board on 4chan, where they're just talking about like how thinking about aliens is like literally making them like bigger or something. Like, so I want there to be this mythologized Conan shit where it's hella anachronistic. And Grognak, I cannot participate with the Grognak shit if I do not know anything about Conan. That honestly sounds embarrassing to me. I would love to read through all of Conan. That sounds so fucking tight. And as well, I would say around this age of humanity just finding empowerment, whether it's more through the collective unconscious, I would further on with the Assassin's Creed storyline of there being this like precursor. This could be linked to the Elder Days. Most definitely it should be. Of this precursor of like the gods, the realm of the gods, who were like, who had an oppressive relationship with, this is Adam and Eve from Assassin's Creed, so this is like the primordial humans, you could say. But that is more like in the imagination of the Imaginers. Closing it up, we will totally be playing Far Cry Primal for like, this is how war was going on in, I believe, the new Stone Age. Alright. So moving on from that, we're getting agriculture. And I really want to be learning all about these civilizations as much as I can. I really want to be learning, getting myself cultured, but just some like mood board for it. Hella, yeah, we're just getting into the Bronze Age. There is actually the first narrative video game ever, y'all ain't ready for this, it's called the Sumerian game. And yeah, you're just like making freaking decisions. Are you going to let your decisions stand, my king? The teacher just made this for her class. So yeah, it's just like Civ, basically. But it was made in, I don't know, before you. then this is Assassin's Creed as well, so we'll be carrying on the idea that there's like, from way back when, we're now getting cults starting up that are like tapping into this ancient secret, and all throughout history we're gonna have a Da Vinci Code like duking it out, and we're just incorporating this all in the timeline, because how I see it is video games with all that ludonarrative dissonance create like a hyper violent world. And so why don't we just dig into that, where like, okay, what if all through the Renaissance it wasn't that peaceful because Ezio was stabbing bitches all the time? And that's just part of the Fallout canon now. The Renaissance had a bunch of assassinations, don't you know? Now this is skipping ahead, definitely we'll be including, as much as we can, more things from diverse perspectives around the world. I just wanted to move on to, I believe you'd refer to it as the modern era. There's so many World War II games. The very first game ever would have been formatted like this, but it would have looked like this as far as I understand. And guess what, bro? It was a World War II game. You're blowing up little fighter jets. It came out right after World War II. Get real. This is Call of Duty ripped them off. So yeah, hello World War II. World War II, as far as I am understanding, is the divergence point. This was what I was reading. Oh, okay. Okay. Next page. Zoom. Okay. Imagine if after World War II the timeline had split. And with all the nuke, like, iconography, I just assumed it was Hiroshima specifically, or Nagasaki, or Trinity, but I didn't know about Trinity, the name yet. So, I'm going to be playing so much World War II games, just because there's a lot of them, but also because it is a very, it's a multi-perspective, global, especially with all these new games, global, highly, I don't want to say effective, because that word gets used differently, but like highly effect creating. Highly casual, maybe? Anyway, we're totally doing some Metal Gear Solid though, right after all this. I have only played MGSV, but they all seem super tight. I bop to Snake Eater all the time. I think the cloning plots, and I'm also into just getting more into anime in general. I'm an adult. I feel like I am the target demographic to be checking it out. And I feel like this is the time to mention it because Metal Gear is going to be very like anime inspired, but then you're also as well going to get like, I want to emphasize the like post-World War II Japanese culture, just to learn about. I know it's like weeaboo-ish, but like there's already katanas and shit in Fallout, and the fan games do have things where it's like, this is a Japanese sect of the Chinese army. So like, at this point I just want to learn all that I can about that history, because shit's tied to like the aesthetic, like the anime aesthetic, so I should just learn what it all means. But yeah, that is, it's just because this is what video games do. I don't know if it's going to shake out like this when I'm like reading books and everything, but there might be like a disproportionate, just weird amount of like weeaboo games, and I'm just, yeah, maybe a lot of it's going to be low concept things happening in Tokyo, but like, I'm just trying to play more games. They're set during the modern era, like 2010 or something. If it's Yakuza, I'm gonna just play it. You know, I don't know when Yakuza's set. I'm just talking. Around the 80s, I was a little divided on this, but honestly, there's no consistency when we've had like the Red Menace game and shit like that. So I'm fine with the idea. First off, post-Cold War, post-Soviet games. The Soviet Union's going to return later in the lore, but definitely all this introspective. It's so strange to be in the Eastern Bloc with all this geopolitical stuff. That's fucking amazing for Fallout. Are you kidding me? But then yeah, we could also do some 80s camp. I'm into 80s camp. I'm fine with that. It's just 80s had so many market games that like it's its own flavor, you know? And I don't want to like just dismiss it, but like, bro, how many 80s games are we gonna play it before like it becomes just the 80s project, right? Okay. This is Fear. So Fear is set in 2006. A lot of games released in 2006 were just set in the same year. So yeah, the idea of like still it's hyper violent. The military is doing shady, spooky things, and like you're just constantly going to be seeing characters who are like caught up in the middle of it. This is set in 2025, Black Ops 2. Do it, David! I'm not too sure what ending we're gonna do, but this is basically how I'm introducing the idea of the speculative future. Alright, so we have moved on from Threshold 8, and we are now in Threshold 9, or according to OER Project, we are now in Threshold 9. According to moi, Threshold 9 is going to be 2077. Just to keep it simple. So, I want to introduce the idea that if the bombs drop in 2077, we can simplify that to 75, alright? We are looking at, this is 2025, so that's 25 years, or that's 50 years until we get to the bombs dropping. So let's split that right down the middle and say that for 25 years, we get a speculative future. Cyberpunk can be included, so getting moved earlier on the timeline. I don't know, it could be like 2030. And the idea is just, this is at a time when, yeah, computers were booming. We did have a microchip. We do have Snapchat, shit like that. It's gonna be fitting to Watch Dogs. It's gonna be fitting, a lot, man. Deus Ex, I imagine. And then, at 2050, I imagine Disco Elysium is set right after a communist uprising, I think like 20 years in. So what I'm thinking is somewhere in like 30s, 40s, 2030s, 40s, there was some sort of working class movement. Maybe the USSR got refounded. Maybe the Chinese government had some sort of reformation during all this or was like helping it. But the point is, we've now gotten the Fallout timeline to a point of like hard conflict driven like borders of like America is like this, Europe is like this, and that the maps are going to be like carved out in new, unique ways. It's going to be mostly speculative. Like what? Disco is set in Martinaise. We're going to say that that is somewhere in Canada, and it's just a new nation that's been carved out of Canada. And we are going to forgive ourselves for the way that this conflicts with, I believe it's the Pale. We're just going to figure out a through line for it. But the point being is that Canada, in their fascistic attempt, found their ideal age was something, I believe this would be like the retro-futuristic 20s, and so they've been just pushing that aesthetic. And then different games will be pushing different aesthetics, and that's how we can find the through line between all these different games. So this is 2050 onward. There's retrofuturism, but it depends on what region you're in. And one thing immediately that doesn't make sense with this, why would technology regress if it's more useful? There's modern guns in Fallout. I imagine that if you really, really dug into the degrees of everything on it, you'd find out that you need a microchip to make some of those. They've also kind of gone back and forth on if microchips exist, and they're like, they just exist a little bit. The explanation we're going for right now is our knowledge of the pre-war is so limited that it appears one way, but there's a very storied history that has been buried layer upon layer with new decades of culture. But in America, yes, the pre-war looks like how we expect it. So this is, who's the author of this freaking one? I got this from a No Mutants Allowed post, but yeah, Bourgeois Banan. So check this shit out, alright? You get the freaking idea. Here's a good world, man. No, we wanna emphasize that it was like, we wanna circle all like the social issues that would have been happening with it. Probably gonna move around the timeline for some of that like 13 Commonwealths type thing. But yeah, this is the vision for right before the bombs. It's like, it's a robot. I'm just trying to see what's on that, what's projected on the wall. This is LA in the old games, I believe. And then that No Mutants Allowed post was talking about how real life LA is mostly like, there's a strip of skyscrapers, and then it's mostly low down. And so this is like a wild new interpretation of LA where it's like New York is just giant hella skyscrapers. So just something to note is that different cities start changing their appearances around this time. As we progress on, we get to the Sino-American War, where, yes, where, this is, I just thought it'd be fucking funny. If Nate is this guy, then Nora is this guy. Because there's already dialogue where she claims that she was in the army. Record found. Yeah, words any former soldier. War never changes right there. So what, she's supposed to say it when she sees it? Is that true? Well, this is the one that's harder to deny. I was in the army. The actress says that. So it was cut from the plot that she was supposed to, that Nora was supposed to be in the army. So I'm not sure who was fighting the land war in China, who was fighting rioters in America, who was fighting in Anchorage, Alaska. But what we're going for is that Nate and Nora, at the same time, were both fighting in the U.S. Armed Forces, and that is probably how they met. So this is Battlefield 2. The plotline is the Sino-American War, so I thought, oh, that's fucking perfect. I might include the other Battlefield games, they just might need some headcanon. So anyway, now we get to this meme, which is kind of like, it's like the skeleton of this project. I do like it though. It's cute. First off, why is Brotherhood of Steel not canon? Dude, like who gives a shit? Just make them all canon. I'm sorry, who cares? but you'll see it starts at 2077, and then Frost is the mod that's 5 years later. I think Nevada is 5 years after that. Around this time is when Wasteland would start being the plot line, if you are considering 2077 to be the bomb date. It's not in Wasteland. And so yeah, this is basically the rest of the timeline. This is the rest of the Dancing Charlie Brown character, yeah. And we will be leading into Dust as the finale. And we want to incorporate other things, so I said Mad Max, but as well Book of Eli. I don't know much about Book of Eli, but just trying to include everything that's like, why not make it a part of Fallout? You know, there's hella movies about like nuclear devastation, like in the moment. I like to imagine all of those happened at once to different people, like How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, Strangelove. Strangelove, I genuinely am completely fine with that being the story of how the Enclave got founded. That's completely fine with me. Definitely Canticle for Leibowitz. We want a wider narrative of post-apocalyptic America than just the Fallout games have shown us. And then we're going to finish it off with Dust. I imagine the show is going to surpass Dust at some point, but until that happens, it's really not an issue. Yeah. I'm not going to do like Outer Worlds is the house ending. That's not my ending. I prefer to just have it stop at Dust, and say that the whole world ended after that, like all life kind of snuffed out because the trees couldn't produce oxygen, the tunnelers ate everything. I'm okay with that. There's going to be some like space travel games as well. I see the scope of space travel in Fallout as being like the solar system and maybe a little beyond. I don't see it as like, we're the Federation, we see aliens, right? And we know each other from a long time ago. Nah, I don't really see that. Alright, let's finish it off here. So yeah, that is what the scope of the project is going to look like. We're going loose with the canon, incorporating magic, incorporating this alien Cthulhu shit. We are ending it at Dust, even if we could go further. Twitch.tv/skankfoot is how you're going to see me streaming this. And let me explain what that's going to mean. So, I am currently on the first unit of the Big History Project, which is just sort of introducing the idea of this big timeline and trying to get me familiar with like studying it. And I've just been slow going at that. So what I'm thinking is at this start, yeah, we can't really play games that are on the timeline yet, right? So I'm going to do an Anime Doro stream. 40 minutes of studying, 20 minutes of us playing a game. Maybe like the Japanese dub of Shadow the Hedgehog, like maybe trying to like encourage the feeling of it being like, oh, it's anime. And just doing an on-off, study, relax, until we start getting to those like canon games on the timeline. And that's when we'll start inserting rules of like death counters and things like that to make that specific thing like, oh, this is for the marbles, this matters, this gameplay. But yeah. Let's see. I will definitely upload VODs of any parts of this project that I feel are going to like give you a nice crisp, clear watch through. So yeah, tumblr.com/wasteland soul project. YouTube Skankfoot should be the name on YouTube. Let's try it. I know. That me? Yeah, Skankfoot VOD, Skankfoot. Alright. And absolutely recommend any games that you want to like see here. And yeah, I'm excited to get started. Today is a good day for me to do that, so I'll probably, yeah, I'll see about making that happen at noon. Yeah, bless. Take care, y'all.